This interview is a part of the Oklahoma Historical Society's Oral History Program Living Legends collection. This interview was originally conducted on April the 4th, 1969. The interview was conducted by Mr. McGalliard. The interviewee is Mrs. Donna Douglas, and that's capital Douglas, of Ardmore, Oklahoma. This material was re-recorded on November the 7th, 1986 for inclusion in the permanent collections of the Oral History Program by Judith Michener.
This is Mac McGalliard interviewing Mrs. Donna M. Douglas and her grandson, Steve Douglas, Jr., at Mrs. Douglas' home at 708 Douglas Boulevard on April 4th, 1969. And Mrs. Douglas, I understand you've just had a birthday.
Yesterday.
And which one was it? Do you mind telling?
91st.
91 birthday.
That's right.
How many of those have been spent in Ardmore?
I came here when I was 20 years old.
About 1897 and 98.
98 is when we came.
Were you born in 1877?
1878.
1878, yeah. This is 9, so that'd be 91 years. Well, this home of yours here on Douglas Boulevard has been here a long time, hasn't it?
It's the first place, it's the first home in Ardmore, that is. The Douglas home was. It was they first lived in a log house across the railroad from here.
Over on the west side?
Uh-huh. I think it's about a mile across there, isn't it, Stephen?
Something like that. Oh, when was it built? What year? About 1886?
1888.
No, it had been earlier than that. Ardmore was officially founded in 1887. And somewhere I read that a Douglas came
That
here.
home was there before the railroad came through.
Well, it had to have been 86 then.
86.
Because the railroad came through in the spring of 87. I know I read somewhere that a Douglas came here with the first family to come on the site before the railroad was built and put in maybe a little store or something.
All this and the portion of the town is out of his ranch, the Douglas Ranch.
Well, what was the name of that Douglas?
George Brown. No, wait.
Yeah, George Brown.
Yes.
George B. Douglas.
George B.
Well, how are you related to George B.?
I'm his daughter-in-law.
Daughter-in-law?
Ashley B. Douglas was my husband.
And he was the son
of George Douglas.
I see. Well, where did you come from here? Did you come to Ardmore when you married?
No. I came from Iowa when I was 1 year old, and we lived down near Overbrook.
What was your maiden
What was
name?
later Overbrook.
What was your maiden name, Miss Douglas?
Donna McAlister.
McAlister? And that's why you signed Donna M. now? Donna McAlister Douglas?
Yes. Come in.
Did the McAlisters help build that school down there or something?
McAlister Baptist Church?
My father and two of the neighbors hauled the lumber from Gainesville, Texas, and built the school down there.
At Overbrook?
Yes, that's the McAlister Cemetery.
About when was that?
Well, I was about 5 years old.
Well, that would be about 1883 then.
Something like that.
And the Douglases and McAllister were some of the early settlers around here then before Ardmore was established.
Well, we came before the Douglas family did, but we were about 8 miles from Ardmore, where we had a farm.
Do you spell that McAlister, M-C, capital A-L-E-S-T-E-R?
I-S.
A-L-I-S-T-E-R. Well, we only got that spelling right, and the only way to do it is spell it out.
Well, so many misspell it.
Well, when did you move to this home here, Miss Douglas?
I married March the 11th, 1903.
And moved here to this house?
Came home that evening.
Well, was the house already here? Or
Yes, Ashley had it furnished. We just moved in.
I mean, he built it for you?
No, this is the old home place, and he bought it from his mother.
Oh, they had the log house across the railroad
Yes.
first, and then they built this place.
They moved in here, and that's where I have lived here since 1903.
That's about how many? 66 years, isn't it?
Just so long ago. I'll let you do the figuring.
I believe that's right, isn't it, Steve?
Right.
Well, I have a picture of the old Douglas homestead that looks just like this house, except I don't believe it had the rock on it.
No, I had the rock put on. I went away and was gone about 8 years, and when I came back, the house was about ready to fall. So I had it remodeled. I had it lined with sheetrock and rocked on the outside.
Oh, how many children and who were they that you and Ashley had?
Well, George Clarence was born in first day of February, 1904, and lived to be 29. And Stephen A. was born the 13th day of, help me, Stephen.
June, isn't it?
June, 1913.
1913. Well, Stephen A. lived a
He
long
was
time.
born the 25th of June. I told you I'd get mixed up.
In 1913.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've heard that name, Stephen A. Douglas, around
Well,
here a
now,
lot.
he had an uncle, Stephen A. Douglas, a brother of Ashley's.
It was named Stephen A. also. Which one was the postmaster of Ardmore?
Steve.
You're Steve?
No,
The other one?
Richard.
My dad's uncle.
I see. What did Ashley do? What was his business?
He was a contractor,
Building contractor?
builder, and decorator. No, he didn't build, he decorated.
Homes and business buildings?
Mm-hmm.
When did he pass away?
Stephen, you know?
No, long before I was.
I know, if I can just...
Before I was born.
May the 18th, 1930.
Well, that's been a long time ago, too, isn't it?
I've almost forgotten I had a husband.
Well, you never remarried
Oh, no.
then.
I was too busy.
Well, what were you busy doing? What have you done all these years?
Well, so I couldn't tell you all I've done. I wasn't equipped to take any business positions, so I've just managed.
Well, you mentioned a while ago having a millinery shop or something downtown.
Well, now, that is before I married. I worked in a millinery shop. I had a gift shop here a while.
You used to make Boston baked bread, didn't you?
And I made and sold Boston brown bread. And it's real good.
In charge of the Whittington swimming pool, wading pool for many
I was
years.
over at the at Reed wading pool for 12 summers. And I worked in Oklahoma City as companion to 2 elderly people.
What church is the Douglas family associated with?
Well, Mother Douglas belonged to the Christian church, First Christian. Father Douglas didn't belong to any church, and I'm a Methodist.
When you say Father Douglas, you're talking about
George.
B.
Uh-huh.
And
Mother Douglas was Margaret.
that's Ashley's mother.
That's his mother and father.
What was her maiden name? Or what family she came from?
Pendleton. She was Margaret Ann Pendleton.
Pendleton? Or
P-E-N.
Pennington?
Pendleton.
Pendle, Pendle.
T-O-N.
Mm-hmm.
Did they live here or?
No, they,
Came here from...
I believe they were from Virginia.
You know, I'm glad that you got out of that Yankee country when you were just 1 year old. It never handicapped you much, did it?
No.
I've got a, you know, George Brown Douglas's wife, this Margaret Pendleton Douglas. According to, I've got a paper there that was printed up, years ago. She was supposed to have been the first white woman in Indian Territory. And I have a deal that was struck by when people died a long time ago, they used to hand out these flyers, you know, from door to door.
Yeah.
And I have one there that you might want to see sometime. It tells about her and the city council here. The Indians all in this country call her the Great White Mother. And there's on there the mayor and all ordered that a memorial be struck and placed in Central Park in her memory.
Well, I'd sure like to see that, Steve.
You know, it's etched in black, you know, the big paper thing, you know, tells about her and when she was born and died. And sometime I'll get it out.
All right, let's don't forget that. I'd sure like to see it. Well, Miss Douglas, what did Ardmore look like when you first came here? Can you remember how it was?
Well, this and the A.C. Young house and Miss Eichert's was the only houses on this side of the street.
On Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
Was this street one of the first streets in town?
Mm-hmm.
And
it was Douglas Avenue to begin, and that church changed it to Douglas Boulevard.
well, I wondered if it was laid out to go out to the cemetery.
Father Douglas gave a street 100 feet wide through his farm and ranch. And
Well, when you
they cut it down 10 feet when they paved, you know. When they laid the street out, they cut off 10 feet. So it's just 90 feet wide.
well, that's why we've got a good 4-lane street out this way.
Mhm.
Then one of the best ones in town.
Uh-huh.
And what did you go to downtown for entertainment when you were young?
Well, just anything that happened to come along.
Right.
We was all there.
What was it? What did you do? Remember?
Well, you know, they used to have those,
Summer stock shows at the
yes, they had
Opera
the
House.
summer stock shows, and they had, a group of people would come and put up a tent and give programs. What did they call that?
Chautauqua?
Mm-hmm.
Where would they usually put their tent?
Well, it's on the last one I remember was around there near Central Park. I believe it was in Central Park. Last one I remember going to.
Well, back around 1898, 1900, there wasn't any Central Park. There was.
No, but
That was cow pasture out that way.
yeah, and we didn't go that far out then. They'd put their tent closer in.
Yeah, I think that at that time maybe West Main and C Street was about the edge of the town.
Mm-hmm.
And
The night I married, we had a horse and buggy, and we drove up Main Street, and the mud was up to the hubs of the buggy.
and those buggy wheels are kind of high, aren't they? You could never got along in the car, could you?
It would have been too bad if it turned over.
Where were you married? In a church?
No, we didn't. We just went to Mr. Let me see now. What is his name? He was a courthouse official. And Maud Douglas, that's a sister-in-law. That's Steve Douglas' wife. And Ashley and I got in the buggy and drove up to his home. And we were married in the buggy. We didn't have any wedding.
You mean you just sat in the buggy while you married you?
And we come on back that night and came home. I've been here ever since.
Right here to this house.
Right here.
I hear a grandfather clock somewhere.
Yeah. It's been here a long time.
Something about as long as you have.
Yes, we got that when we went to keeping house.
Do you remember those early days about the brickyards around here?
Yes.
Who had them and where they were?
Ashley's brother-in-law had a brickyard, Captain Wiley Wood.
Wiley Wood. Where was it located? Did they make bricks?
Yes, but now I couldn't tell you the location.
The only one I know of is this one northeast of town, up on the railroad where the old smokestack is still standing. That was it?
That's it.
He was operating at about the time you all married?
Yes. They had a house there nearby, and they lived up there, near the brickyard.
You remember when they paved Main Street at first?
I couldn't tell you the date. Yeah.
I don't know either. They used asphalt from local mines, I understand. Of course, in those days, the asphalt mines around here were an important industry.
Yes.
Well, what about the social life along those early years, like about the time of statehood and on up, when Lee Cruz was elected governor and so forth? What all did you all do? Visit around?
I couldn't tell you what we done. We had picnics. We always had barbecues. And after the railroad came through, we always had a barbecue 2-3 days.
Would that have been about Ardmore's birthday?
And that was over in Whittington. And first, though, it was Al Robertson's pasture where they had it. And then later they had it in Whittington Park.
Was that in connection with Ardmore's birthday, summer?
That was a celebration. Every summer, in celebration of the railroad going through.
Yeah, the old July 28th date when the first train came
That's
in.
right. Now, what year was that?
When it came through? 1887.
87.
The town, I think.
Well, my sister-in-law, Ella Douglas, that married Captain Wood, came from Gainesville up here on the first train that ran all the way through from Gainesville.
So she got here in 1887.
She had one of the first rides.
Well, when you had those barbecues, did you have some eloquent orators?
Oh, yes, all kind of speeches and dancing and everything that went with a barbecue.
Seemed like I've heard they had some horse races, too.
Oh, yes, they had horses. And once, I remember, we had a sham battle. And the boys from Gainesville, what do you call their organization?
Veterans or something?
Huh?
Confederate veterans? Or
Well, they had never been to war, but they, when you organize...
militia?
National Guard or something?
National Guard, I guess is what you'd call it. They organized it there in Gainesville. Miss Wymore's brother was one of them.
They came up here and put on a battle?
Yeah, had a sham battle.
Who'd they fight? One another or somebody from Ardmore?
Well, I guess they fought the air, Stephen A. I don't know. I know they hid around behind the trees.
That was out in Whittington Park.
Yeah, no, that was Robertson, Al Robertson. No, now wait a minute. I've got that mixed up, haven't I? Al Bailey. It's not Al Robertson. No, that's not right. Because it was Al Bailey. He was an Indian.
Where was his pasture located?
Well, it is close to Whittington Park over there.
On the east side of it?
East of here.
Did you ever ride the streetcar out to Lorena Park?
Oh, yes. We used to go out there to picnics.
What all did they have out there? They have a ball diamond?
Yes, they had ball and... Well, they just had about everything that goes with those early day celebrations. Had those swings, circle.
Those merry-go-round swings?
Merry-go-round,
Well, was the lake that's there now, out there then? Just a little lake right east of Roy Johnson's old home.
Well, there was a lake there, but I don't know. That was Lorena Park. The name for Governor Cruce's daughter. Her name was Lorene, wasn't it?
I believe that's right, Lorena.
Mm-hmm.
I think those streetcars operated till in the 1920s.
Yes, quite a while. I don't know how long, but quite a while.
Remember how much it cost to ride the streetcar?
No, I don't.
I've heard a nickel and I've heard a dime. And
Well, I was thinking of a dime, but now I don't know whether there's any more than that or not.
might have been that it cost a nickel to ride around the downtown area, or if you went away out to Lorena Park.
It was more, but I don't remember what it was.
Well, were there ever two families of Douglases here in Ardmore, or just this direct
There
line?
was three.
Three families? And did
Four,
George
wasn't it?
George B. have some
George
relatives?
George was the father, and they lived here, and
Clarence Douglas.
Clarence Brown, son, lived over there where Coleman Jones lives now.
Built that house.
And Frank Douglas lived up here on the corner where, what's that man's name up here on this corner? Parrish.
Parrish lives now.
That's where Frank Douglas lived. And Steve Douglas lived next door to me down here.
Yeah.
And that house has been removed, and
Two-story house down there.
Pruitts live there now.
Well, they were all sons of George B.
They were, yes, he had 4 sons and 2 daughters.
Well, that's where I've got so confused then, because I've run into so many Douglases here and there reading the old papers and everything.
Well, they all just live right around here. I have a book here of other day advertisements. I don't know whether you'd get anything out of it or not.
Well, I'd sure like to look at it.
Stephen A., you want to go look in those shelves and
Was that
see if
city
you can...
directory or what?
Well, it's just a little book. You read it. I give it to you to read.
You mentioned here a while ago that at one time you were out of Ardmore for 8 years. Was that when you were staying in the city?
Yes, that's when I was in Oklahoma City. It's after Ashley died.
Well, let's see, we were talking about your own children a while ago, and you mentioned 2.
Well, I just had the 2.
And that's the 2. And
2 boys.
Steve here is Stephen A. Jr., your grandson. His father's dead, and
Yes.
what
You see, he died in 1930.
Same year that Ashley died. Don't you said Ashley died?
Oh,
in
my son died in 33.
33, and Ashley died in 1930.
30, 3 years sooner. Stephen A., it's just a little paperback book.
Yeah, I remember. I was kind of looking here. I can't seem to...
I have a blueback speller, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, when you lived down at Overbrook when you were a girl, did you go to school down there?
I went to Overbrook when I was 10 years old and stayed there, lived there 10 years. And about all of my education was either at that McAlister schoolhouse out in the country or there in Overbrook.
Well, that McAlister school is long since discontinued, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But is that where they
I
got...
think they have a church house there.
Well, I know they do. Is that where they got the name for the McAlister
Yes.
Indian Baptist Church?
Joseph Scott McAlister. There's just a little piece from our farm.
Well, is your family have any Indian blood?
Mm-mm.
Did the Douglases have?
No.
Well,
Recipe book?
I
and
had
what club was that, Miss Douglas?
Ferndale Review Club.
In 1906?
And I had each yearbook that I had stored away. And while I was gone, the house was rented, and when I came back, there was every one gone. Not a one left.
Oh, that's too bad.
So that, if you can see names, it's refreshing. It gives you a lead.
Right, and I was trying to find a date in this recipe book from the advertisements in it, such as Mort Wood's Primrose Farm, which this says was established in 1916, and the fact that the Hotel Ardmore has an ad in here, I would guess it was somewhere in the 1920s. The City State Bank was still in operation. Strasnick's Jewelers.
I have an older one than that. It's a yellowback.
Recipe book. Well, I'll tell you what.
That one you're talking about.
Well, Stephen, I'll see if I can find it. If I do it, then you can take it to Mr. Hay.
Yes, I would like to borrow these and make a copy of them.
Here's the city director. You might have run across one of these. This is 1904 and 5.
The 1907 is the oldest city directory that
I
I've
think that's
seen.
what I was looking for.
That's probably it.
I think
that's what I remember
yes,
looking
it
through that.
is. It's about to come to pieces, isn't it?
Yes, going to have to handle it carefully.
Now, here's a book that Clarence B. Douglas wrote.
Yeah.
Oh?
It's about some men of Tulsa, character sketches by Colonel Clarence B. Douglas.
I have another one that he wrote.
Oh. Did he,
He's one of the sons.
did he move to Tulsa?
He
Or?
was a newspaper man. Yeah, in Tulsa and El
He was
Reno.
editor of that Tulsa Tribune so long.
Oh.
Wasn't that the one, Stephen?
I think it was. And then over in El Reno, he had something to do with the newspaper. He's in Washington, D.C. for a while doing something. He's the one you're not recording now, are you?
Here is a clipping from the Daily Ardmore of March 14th, 1903, saying, well, this says what the man is. It says deputy clerk. At the home of deputy clerk N.H. McCoy, M.C. capital C-O-Y, March 11th, Ashley E. Douglas, A-S-H-L-E-Y, E-D-O-U-G-L-A-S, and Miss Mary Elvina, E-L-V-I-N-A, McAlister, A-L-I-S-T-E-R. They have that misspelled in here, too. It's A-L-E-S.
No, I was right.
Yeah, they have the E here.
Oh.
Were united in marriage. N.H. McCoy performed the ceremony.
Mrs. Kate.
Miss Douglas, a while ago you mentioned that you did lots of hunting and fishing. Was that way back in the early days?
Mm-hmm. Before I married Grace, and I used to hunt a lot.
Where would you hunt? And what did you hunt for?
Old birds and just whatever rabbits, whatever we could scare.
Oh. You have some pictures here of the old Devil's Kitchen area down where's under Lake Murray now. Did you go picnicking down there?
Yes.
Looked like it was quite a different place in those days.
Oh, yes, it's rustic then. It don't look like the same place. I wouldn't know it if I didn't know that was where it was.
I understand the old Devil's Kitchen was in that canyon right off the point where Tucker Tower is now.
That's where the outlaws used to come over into Indian territory and hide over there in those caves. You know.
There were caves in those cliffs down
Oh,
there.
yes. They camped there, lived back in those caves.
Did people talk much in those days about the outlaws coming in?
Oh, yes. Yes, there was lots of outlaws.
Did they ever bother anybody that you knew of? I mean, people around home?
Well, they killed some of our neighbors. The two Rolfe boys, Will and Andy Rolfe. Andy Rolfe had long hair. He was Indian. And the Pink boys killed them.
Outlaws coming in?
Oh, yes. Yes, there was lots of outlaws.
Did they ever bother anybody that you knew of? I mean, people around home?
Well, they killed some of our neighbors. The two Rolfe boys, Will and Andy Rolfe. Andy Rolfe had long hair. He was Indian. And the Pink Boys killed them.
Pink Lee, Lee boys.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the Lee Boys.
Where did the Rolfes live? Did you know them? Did you ever see them?
Oh, yes, they'd been to our house. Mother and father kept 4 of their children for a long time after their mother died.
Yeah, after the men were killed.
Well, now there's a different. Now Joe Rolfe, it was his children, and his wife died, and his mother and father took his children and kept them. I don't know how long.
What kind of house did you all live in down at Overbrook?
Well, it's still standing. It's a box house, I guess
What?
you'd call it. I was down there not too long ago, and it's getting pretty bad shape. There's a lot of things stored in there.
Was that on some of Borland's land now down there?
Huh?
Sid Borland, doesn't he own that land now? Isn't that house on his place?
I think the Brown children own it.
Do they?
Henry Brown's children. And it's getting pretty bad shape. There's a lot of things stored in there.
Was that on some of Borland's land now down there?
Huh?
Sid Borland, doesn't he own that land now? Isn't that house on his place?
I think the Brown children own it.
Do they?
Henry Brown's children.
Well, Henry Brown, that was the father of this Mrs. Claude Holden.
Yeah.
Well,
He knew the entire book of Stephen A. tell me what they had so many pictures, so many plays. He wrote plays, Englishman.
Shakespeare,
Shakespeare.
he knew a lot of that by heart.
He just knew the book.
Oh.
He was a fanatic on the subject.
Now, where would you go camping in those days, Miss Douglas?
Well, we usually went to the Oil Springs up here. Or
In the Arbuckles on Oil Creek.
yes, but it's further on up. Mm-hmm.
What on now is the Goddard
We
Ranch.
went through Mill Creek going to it.
Old Mill Creek.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a pretty place?
Yeah, very pretty, and had such nice water. Springs.
And you went in the wagon then?
Oh, yes, we'd load up a wagon and take our provision and our bedding and our tents.
Or was life around town a lot more leisurely then than it is now?
Oh, yes, I think so. People enjoyed themselves really better then than I think they do now. They weren't in such a hurry. I think that's what's the matter with the people now. They're in too big a rush.
Well, I wonder what we're rushing for, do you know?
That's it. Why do they do it?
I've never figured that one out. Have you been a pretty good churchgoer all your life?
Yes, I joined the church when I was 14 years old, and I worked in it up until recently.
You remember when they built the new First Methodist Church?
Yeah, oh, yes. I helped to build this Carter Avenue Methodist Church.
When was it organized? Do you remember?
Well, it was in operation when we moved here.
The Carter Avenue was?
Uh-huh.
In 1903?
It was a weatherboarded building then, and it got pretty well worn out, and they removed that and built that brick. And the brick's the one I helped to build. We give church dinners and suppers and that's when I commenced making brown bread. The church would sell it, you know.
Oh. Remember about when that was?
Well, let me see if I can think back. Stephen A. was little. I guess he was about 10 years old, somewhere along there. He's in his 56 now, I believe. It goes back kind of to the, I don't know exactly. I have a picture of the church here somewhere. It'd give it, but I don't know.
Well, when was he born? You said a while ago, but I forgot.
June the 25th, 1913.
Well, if he was 10 years old, then that'd been 1923.
Somewhere along
In the
there.
1920s when you built it.
Did he have a hotel at Overbrook?
Oh, yes, there was a hotel there.
Oh, in real early days? Here's a picture of a hotel.
Well, that's it.
says Overbrook
J.C.
on there.
Cates operated it.
J.C. Cates,
Mhm.
C-A-T-E-S.
C-A-T-E-S.
Yeah, this is, on the back says Mrs. Donna McAlister, Overbrook, Indian Territory, on the back of this picture of the old hotel. Does that
Yeah.
look like it?
Oh, yes, that's it.
It's two-story and had a breezeway.
Yeah, it burned down. It was there when we left.
Well, what all did you have at the Overbrook in those days?
Well, Overbrook to begin was had a better start than Ardmore. Ardmore's water was so bad, so many people died here.
Getting out of the wells.
Uh-huh. And, there was, let me see, 1, 2, 3, there was 4 or 5 stores and a barber shop and a post office, and there was a 2-story building where they had their dances. They called them balls.
Steve just came up with a picture of Judge Overton Love. This says,
He lived out from Marietta.
of Love's Valley, and called him the greatest living Chickasaw Indian.
I have a whole lot of those.
Here's Honorable Clifton R. Breckinridge, member of the Commission of the 5 Civilized Tribes, ex-member of Congress and ex-minister to Russia. Wonder where he lived. Was he at Ardmore?
I couldn't tell you about him.
There's a collection of them here, it looks like, of the Indian.
Honorable A.S.
It's
McKinnon.
the Indian Territory officials.
Yeah, I'd sure like to have any of them that's around the Chickasaw Nation. Apparently this McKinnon was with the Seminoles. Said he was general attorney for the Seminole
Chickasaw
tribe.
and Choctaws. Honorable H.S. Foote.
Yeah, judge of the Citizenship Court.
And here's another one, Walter Weaver of the Chickasaw Choctaw.
Pictures had come with that little Republican paper that Ashley took so long.
Here's a newspaper right here from way back then somewhere.
Oh, yeah, I had it.
Daily Ardmore, 1924. Here's a story about this band, you know, I had a picture a while ago, you know,
Yeah.
of this band. They were the Ardmore Big Silver Cornet Band. Y'all got paper of that down at the newspaper?
Well, we would have microfilm on it, I guess, but what did we do with that picture? I saw it here a while ago.
It's down here in this.
Now we've got it identified, we better look it up, hadn't we? If I remember right, that Silver Cornet Band was organized
1990.
way back there.
Yeah.
Well, Ashley was a member of the band.
Oh, he was?
Uh-huh.
Frank
And that was
Davis,
before I moved up here.
both the brothers.
And I moved up here in 1898. It goes back to the
Got this, all the
Early
members.
days.
Yeah.
Oh, do you remember anything about that bad cyclone they had at Norman? So many was killed.
No, I don't remember that.
Well, their band came through Norman that evening after the cyclone hit there, and Ashley said everything was just blown to pieces and people dead everywhere you looked.
Oh, my, they came through on the train.
And he said it sure did cool that bunch of band boys down.
Well, I'll bet. Well, I believe I'll look here and see if I can find that picture again. I didn't hold on to it a while ago. Miss Douglas, you've mentioned Republicans a time or two around here. Were the Douglases Republican?
Mm-hmm.
Lifelong?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Father Douglas and all the boys.
well, you know, I noticed in reading the early files in the newspapers around here, the Republicans were quite active around here.
Yes. There was, a while there was that Judge Campbell. I don't know whether you know of him or not.
Well, I read about him.
Uh-huh. And H. McCoy, all that bunch they were Republicans at that time.
The McAllisters were Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you and Ashley ever differ over politics?
No, we didn't talk politics.
You didn't?
I always had a way of skirting around things that didn't set well. We never argued about anything. Arguing, I don't like to quarrel. So that way we got along pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you, is that part of your recipe for living 91 years and
I think so.
still being as nice looking as you are?
If things didn't suit me, I just pushed it in the background, went on, done something else.
In fact, I think I'd like to say on tape what I said a while ago. I told Steve that when I came here and you answered the door, I almost asked you if your mother was in.
Oh, I think you're joking now.
No, I'm not really. Well, you noticed I asked you if you were Mrs. Douglas. I just wasn't sure.
Well, that's a joke.
No, when you go to see someone, that's...
Jane Ann and I stopped at the whiskey. I don't want to tell everybody I'm buying whiskey, do I?
Well, I don't know. When you pass 80, I think all rules are suspended. Don't you see?
Medicinal purposes only.
Yeah.
We stopped out there, and the man that owned the place was coming around the corner. Is up there close to the foodway. And he went in the store, and Jane Anderson there getting some medicine. And he said, that's the best looking woman I've seen since I've been in Ardmore. So I was 89 then, so that's not too bad.
Well, I would vote for that. I'm just not joking you. It's amazing.
I don't believe just everything I hear, but it's kind of nice to hear.
Yeah, but actually your health, your vitality, and
I'm very fortunate.
your stature, you stand up straight.
Yeah.
Get around good. I wish my mother could see you. She's 77 and she thinks she's about dead.
She thinks she's old.
Just because she's that
Well,
old.
you know, I never have made up my mind that I was really old.
Well, that's part of the secret
I
too.
just don't. I don't see things that way.
Well, if I had brought my camera along, I'd shoot a picture of you, but I may come back and do it yet.
Well, I'd be glad to have you come back anytime.
Well, I'll just do that. I'll make it a point to come by and get a picture of you.
Anytime you want to see these pictures or go through anything that you think might help out a little while, you're perfectly welcome.
Well, kind of like you said earlier, after I leave, I'm sure to think of something.
Thank you.
Yeah, your 90th birthday party. Well, now that, you got red roses then, too,
Yes,
like you have
Stephen
today.
A. sent me. I don't know. I don't think any of those. I think that's children, I think.
Yeah. Let me borrow one of these.
Oh, sure.
You're sitting right here in a chair by your native stone wall of the house, holding your red roses. Steve Jr. sent you these, huh?
Now, this is probably a picture of the old Douglas homestead.
No, my neighbors took these pictures.
Sunday,
They
1897.
come over here.
I see.
Would you think that?
And what about this, Miss Douglas? There's a log house now.
Well, now, that's the original.
That's the original
That's the one
Douglas
that was
home.
built across the railroad there.
18 and, what, 97, Steve?
I think that's what it said there.
Sunday, June, I guess, 10th, 1897.
Well, here's a picture of grandmother when she was working in the millinery shop uptown in 1902. That's the inside of the millinery, or maybe you'd say.
Yeah. What was the name of that store?
Oh, I was trying to think.
Was it your shop or somebody else's?
No, it belonged to... Can't call her last name. Her first name was Lila. I think of it, Dick.
Well, they sure had some fancy hats in there.
Oh, we just had some of the most beautiful hats. She was a wonderful man.
How much did they sell for, you remember?
Oh, you pay $10 or $15, you'd get the top notch.
Oh? Just something ordinary, what, $2 or $3?
Oh, anywhere from $1 up.
Can you tell which one is you in this picture?
Well, I'm standing at the back with a woman at the counter.
Well, now, here's somebody standing at the counter
Well,
talking to a man.
well, now that's Miss Bomar. That's her name.
Bomar?
B-O-M-A-R.
Yeah. Her husband was a druggist.
Now, is there somebody further back?
Yeah, you're talking, somebody's talking to a woman.
To a woman. Well, that's me.
Yeah. Can't tell it's you. One of them has dark clothes on, and the other one has on a light blouse.
Well, now that's me.
With the light blouse.
It was a green silk blouse.
Well, now that I look, somebody's drawn a little arrow there pointing to you.
Mm-hmm.
And your name's down here, Donna McAlister. Ardmore, Indian Territory, 1902. Just a year before you married, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to get that. I mean, I've used that picture.
Okay.
Yeah, that shows inside of a women's shop, Indian Territory days. And then this picture of the old homestead's good, too, the log house.
That's the first I've ever seen of that. I've never run across that in all these pictures. That they've got more than this scattered around over the family.
Well, I'll shoot copy negatives on these, Steve, and we'll have them for permanent.
Here's some here I haven't showed you yet. You said, tell me what you was kind of looking for, and so I picked these out. Now,
Okay.
This again is another picture of this two-story house down here, right below us.
I'm going to show you some flowers. They're from Rockport. They're made of shells.
Oh, made of seashells.
Uh-huh.
And they look like rosebuds.
They look like rosebuds.
Well, that's beautiful. She bring you the vases, too?
No, I had the vases. I got them in Colorado, Walsenburg.
Well, I didn't get the date on it.
Yeah,
You run for the U.S. Senator.
Colonel Clarence B. Douglas, United States Senator from Oklahoma, the American
question
Saturday.
Mark at the end of it.
Yeah. Tulsa, January 12, 1924.
And there's a big article inside about him.
He looked like a rugged character in his picture.
If Roy was out here, he'd know some of these people that I don't see clean enough to recognize them in the picture.
Well, we're finding some real good stuff here, Miss Douglas.
Okay.
Part of Ardmore's history. Here's a bunch of cowboys, looks like.
I couldn't tell where.
I believe that was taken in western Texas, out near Guthrie. Guthrie is the capital of the state, isn't it?
No, it was capital of Oklahoma. Guthrie was.
I don't mean the capital, I mean the county seat.
County seat, yeah, there is a Guthrie.
King County.
That's right. Well, here's a bunch of men.
Let's see if I can place
It's got the names up at the top.
Isn't that the...
There's A.C. Cruz, so I can see.
Yes, I tell you, when clients got into that trouble, that was the jury that cleared him.
Oh, it was? Well, we probably won't mention
No,
that.
I wouldn't. I don't think I would. He's dead.
Now, that's him sitting in the middle, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Was that when that happened, 1999, or a little before that's when he shot the...
And I guess that was the date, Stephen Day, because it's just after we moved up here.
He's arrogant looking, kind of sitting there.
Yeah. George B.
Yes.
And Margaret, was that her name?
Yeah.
And Frank, I'd imagine, wouldn't
And no.
he? Ashley?
No.
Or Clarence?
Wait a minute. Clarence was next to Steve. And Ashley. And Frank. and Betty. That's the girl, the youngest one. And Ella Lake was the oldest child.
Oh, that's...
Douglas.
That was his family, his
Yeah.
children. He had 6, 4 boys and 2 girls.
Uh-huh. Where does this Mrs. Bloomer Sullivan come into it? Is she related to you all?
She's the daughter. You know, I said a while ago that Ella Lake married Captain Woods.
Yeah.
Well, Minnie was his daughter. She was no kin, really.
No kin.
Bloomer Sullivan's wife.
Bloomer Sullivan. Oh, that was the granddaughter. You know, time passes, don't it?
Yes.
They just did live there. I don't know where.
No, they moved to Sulphur now.
Oh, they had.
Yeah, last fall he retired over there from Southeastern College where he was coach, and they live in Sulphur. Now, she came in and talked to me a while back. The reason I was asking a question about her.
Mm-hmm.
And she was an old-timer here in Ardmore. She started up here. Here's a little white house sitting among some trees, a one-story house with some men on the porch and a woman sitting on the edge of the porch. But there's nothing written on the picture anywhere.
I don't know whether I can place it or not.
Oh, I can tell you that.
It's monument.
This is the monument. This is when Stephen A. Douglas was on the building commission, building the state capitol.
Yeah.
And all this granite and all came out of over at Tishomingo. And so they got the Douglas family lot out here, and they quarried this stuff right out here, right out of the monument stoneworks and all over there at Tish. And brought it over, and it's standing out on the Douglas lot now.
Oh, in Rose Hill
In
Cemetery.
Rose Hill Cemetery, yeah.
Well, where was that Owen stonework?
Over at Tish, wasn't it,
Tish,
grandmother? Owen Jones, it's Jones and Owens or something's tombstone monument works. Was that over at
Well,
Tish?
he had a place up here where this man has it now.
Over where Torrance is now? Is this where this is?
He was a farmer.
Before Torrance?
Yeah.
Well, this is the...
And they left you. I don't know where they went.
Torrance Monument Company there.
Yeah, well, this would have been made in Ardmore then, wouldn't it?
They just quarried the stone over there and brought it over here, the raw stone, and they made it when they got it here.
Mm-hmm. Well, it says Douglas on the base of this, now that I live, base of this monument. Well, let's keep that out, Steve. That would have been way back.
Isn't this Maud's old original home? And isn't that
No.
Aunt Sue and Barney and Maud?
What was George B. Douglas's brother that had the bad leg and had the big beard?
Huh?
His name was George Douglas's brother, the one that had the bad leg, got it shot off in the Civil War or something. What was his name? Had the beard, and died. He's buried out there on the lot.
Oh, no, he's no kin.
Yeah, he's a brother to George Douglas, the old man, to Father Douglas, his brother.
No, he's no kin.
Just happened to have the same name?
No, he's kin. His name was Noah Douglas.
Oh, Uncle Noah.
Yeah.
Oh, did he have a leg shot? I never knew him.
Well, he died.
And I didn't know, I never met Father Douglas either. They died before I came up.
But anyway, I just thought that might be him, but he's got 2 legs, really.
No,
I
that's
can't tell who this is.
that was taken later. I believe that's Aunt Sue and Maud.
Yeah, it looks kind of like Aunt Maud down in the corner, but I can't tell much about it. I don't know where the house is or anything back.
Well, I believe we've about got everything cased for now. So, thank you a lot, Ms. Douglas and Steve. We've got a lot of material.
Miss Taylor said anytime you want anything, go up to Doug's and you'll find it if you just wait long enough. Just look.
Well, I think some more things. May I come back and
Well, anytime you
ask
want
you some
to
more?
go through there, but it's perfectly all right.
Okay.